reports, I want to wipe them both off the board for you. One was that Poirier is going to fight Diaz. This has to do with UFC 300. Another one was that George Masvidal was participating and possibly his opposite Diaz. But again, at UFC 300, reported by me. All right, that did not happen. To have some fun and keep things within the universe of possible. And nothing more than that, like an outside grab at best, but still possible. Possible. The only possible that George Masvidal will ever fight in the UFC again is if it's at UFC 300, if it's at 170 pounds, and if it's for the BMF against Gaethje. If any one of those ingredients is not so, George Masvidal will never fight in the octagon again. Are we very clear on that? Very clear. Now, Masvidal versus Gaethje at 300, at 70 for the BMF belt is of the smallest possibility, but it exists. It is the smallest. It is the greatest leap. Let's use that, though, and go over to Nate, because Poirier has now had to do an interview about this. And Poirier said, no, I'm not doing it. I mean, it was no hotter than that, but getting a hold of Dustin Poirier is not the world's easiest thing to do. Getting an interview from Poirier is not the world's easiest thing to do. And he's red hot. Dustin Poirier is a superstar. So the fact that somebody was able to get to him and they had to use this, I mean, it is kin to jumping on a grenade. They had to use their Poirier time to find out what's not. I mean, I can give you what's not. The sport's biggest star ever, Chael Sonnen, will not be losing ever in the next calendar year of 2024 for the same reason that McGregor will not be losing. We're not fighting. I mean, could you imagine somebody had to use an interview with Dustin to find out what is not going to happen? I felt terrible for the guy. I felt terrible for the person that got the diamond on the phone and had to ask him something that isn't so. But I want to really help because I try with you guys. I try so hard. Okay, McGregor at 300. Why isn't that happening? It's not because it's happening later. It's not because it's not for a title. Why specifically is Conor not at 300? Because of the pool, that's right. Because of the 180 days in the pool. Because of the fact that that was ever even called into question. That's right, good job. But it would also eliminate your Brocks and your Ronda Rouseys, as crazy as those ideas are. The Diaz brothers, George Masvidal, as crazy as those ideas are, they would still be eliminated for the same reason. They were fighters that left the pool and are now returning to the pool. And I have to really slow that down, and I have to say that to you as such, because the predictions are coming from the same people. The same people that are saying Conor should not be allowed in because of 180 days in the pool, the same people are then on the very next paragraph writing that they think Ronda Rousey could be the big announcement at UFC 300. And you kind of just scratch your head and go, what are you talking about? And I want to just get ahead of something else as well. And this was sent to me from the lawyer Eric. He's turned out to be a pretty good friend, this guy. But with the new testing agency, by the way, it is not worded the same as USADA. So they don't have to do the 180 days or the 6 months, which has always been a little bit ambiguous as it was. But if you will remember, one thing that the UFC was very clear as they rolled over to the new agency is that they will not do anything with the new agency that was against the wishes of USADA, even though USADA's not here anymore. So for UFC 300, there's not going to be a great reveal of a Diaz. Sadly, there won't be a great reveal of anybody. And George Masvidal fighting again in the octagon is an impossibility. It is an impossibility, with the one exception that it be for the BMF title. Now, do you know how hard it is to get them to put the BMF title up? A week ago, I gave you guys three things to do if you wanted to become an expert on the other side of the curtain in MMA. And one of those three was to find out why the BMF title had never been defended. So, he's going to have to do something that's never been done. He's going to have to get them to defend the belt. It's going to have to be against Justin Gaethje, who is a #1 contender, who's going to have to be so sure that he can beat him. I'm talking about Gaethje. Gaethje has to be so sure that he can beat him that he's willing to go into a weight class that he's never competed at before. I mean, we're stretching now. We're stretching, but it's still possible. That's all this piece was just is something possible. And if you made that fight, you would have to signify to the world we were desperate. I mean, not for nothing, you would. Now, you'd still save the day, and the people would eat it up, and everybody would love to have it, but you were going to have to signify to the world, man, everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. Everything. Even Pereira versus the active champion, like everything has gone wrong to the point that we're going to have to do this. But things like that happen. And then and only then would Masvidal return to the octagon. If there's any part of that you disagree with, you, like most days, know less than me.